Have you ever wondered why some of the strongest people seem to spend so much time alone? At first glance, it doesn't make sense. Society teaches us that success is built through constant networking, endless socializing, and always being surrounded by people. We're told that the more friends we have, the happier and more successful we'll become. But what if that's not the whole story? What if choosing solitude isn't a sign of weakness, but one of the greatest signs of inner strength? This is one of the biggest misconceptions about Sigma men. People often assume they're lonely, antisocial, or simply bad at relationships. They see a man who enjoys silence and immediately think something must be missing from his life. What they don't realize is that a Sigma doesn't choose solitude because he has no options. He chooses it because it gives him something the outside world often cannot: clarity, peace, and complete freedom to think for himself. While most people are distracted by noise, opinions, and the constant need for attention, the Sigma steps back. He observes instead of reacting. He listens more than he speaks. And during those quiet moments, he develops the discipline, emotional control, and independence that many people spend their entire lives searching for. The truth is, solitude changes people. For some, it creates loneliness. For a Sigma, it creates strength. That's why the real question isn't why Sigma men spend time alone. The real question is, what do they discover in solitude that makes them choose it over everything else? In today's video, we'll uncover the real reason Sigma men choose solitude, and by the end, you may never look at being alone the same way again. 1. Solitude gives them mental clarity. One of the biggest reasons Sigma men choose solitude is because it gives them something that has become incredibly rare in today's world: mental clarity. Everywhere we look, there is noise. Phones constantly demand our attention, social media never stops updating, people are always sharing opinions, and the pressure to keep up with everyone else never seems to end. Most people spend so much time reacting to the outside world that they never slow down long enough to hear their own thoughts. A Sigma understands that a distracted mind rarely makes good decisions. That's why they intentionally step away from the noise. They don't isolate themselves because they dislike people. They do it because silence allows them to think without interruption. When a Sigma is alone, they begin reviewing their goals, reflecting on past mistakes, and planning their next move. Instead of reacting emotionally to every situation, they analyze it from different angles before making a decision. This habit often makes them appear calm under pressure because they have already trained their minds to think clearly before acting. While many people rush into decisions based on emotions or outside influence, the Sigma relies on careful reflection and logic. Solitude also helps them understand themselves on a much deeper level. It allows them to identify weaknesses they need to improve, habits they need to change, and goals that truly matter to them. They don't need a crowd to tell them who they are, because they've already spent enough time alone discovering it for themselves. This level of self-awareness becomes one of their greatest strengths. Many people are uncomfortable with silence because silence forces them to face their own thoughts. A Sigma sees silence differently. To them, it's a place where the mind becomes sharper, emotions become calmer, and ideas become clearer. They know that some of life's biggest breakthroughs don't happen in crowded rooms. They happen in quiet moments when the mind is finally free to think. That's why solitude isn't something a Sigma tries to escape from. It's a powerful tool they use to become wiser, stronger, and more prepared for whatever life puts in front of them. 2. They'd rather be alone than surrounded by fake people. Another reason Sigma men choose solitude is because they've learned that being surrounded by the wrong people is far more exhausting than being alone. Many people stay in unhealthy friendships, fake relationships, or meaningless social circles simply because they fear loneliness. They would rather pretend to belong than risk standing alone. A Sigma thinks differently. They understand that not everyone who smiles at you is your friend, and not everyone who stays close genuinely wants the best for you. Over time, experience teaches them that some people only appear when they need something. Others disappear the moment life becomes difficult. Some secretly compete with you, while pretending to support you. Instead of wasting years trying to earn acceptance from people who don't truly value them, Sigma men simply step away. They don't see solitude as a loss. They see it as protection. A Sigma would rather spend an entire weekend alone than spend a single evening pretending to enjoy the company of people they can't trust. This doesn't mean they hate social interaction. It means they value authenticity more than popularity. They believe that one honest relationship is worth more than dozens of fake ones. Because they become selective about who enters their life, people often assume they're cold or antisocial. The truth is much simpler. They have learned that peace is difficult to maintain when you're constantly surrounded by dishonesty, jealousy, or unnecessary drama. Solitude allows them to protect that peace until the right people naturally enter their lives. That's why a Sigma never fears eating alone, traveling alone, or working alone. They know that temporary solitude is always better than permanent disappointment caused by the wrong people. 3. Solitude makes them emotionally stronger. One of the greatest benefits of solitude is that it forces a person to become emotionally independent, and this is exactly why Sigma men value it so highly. Most people depend on others to feel happy, confident, or complete. They constantly look for reassurance, approval, or attention because they fear being left alone with their own thoughts. A Sigma takes the opposite approach. They spend enough time alone to realize that emotional strength begins when you stop depending on other people to create your happiness. Being alone teaches valuable lessons. It teaches patience because there's no one else to solve your problems. It teaches resilience because difficult moments must be faced without constant encouragement. It teaches confidence because every challenge you overcome alone becomes proof that you're stronger than you once believed. This doesn't happen overnight. Every hour spent reflecting, learning, and growing quietly strengthens the Sigma's character. Instead of running away from discomfort, they learn to sit with it until they understand it. Instead of avoiding failure, they analyze it and use it as a lesson for the future. Over time, this creates a person who remains calm during stressful situations. They don't panic as easily because they've already learned how to control their emotions without depending on external support. This quiet emotional stability often surprises people. They wonder how the Sigma remains so composed while everyone else is overwhelmed. The answer is simple. Solitude trained them. It gave them the opportunity to build emotional strength in private, long before life tested them in public. Asterisk 4. They protect their energy from constant noise. Another reason Sigma men choose solitude is because they understand how valuable their mental energy truly is. Every conversation, every argument, every unnecessary distraction takes a small amount of that energy away. Most people don't realize how exhausted they become simply by surrounding themselves with negativity, drama, and constant stimulation. A Sigma notices it immediately. Instead of allowing every opinion, every conflict, and every distraction to occupy their mind, they become extremely selective about what deserves their attention. They know they cannot control everything happening around them, but they can control what they allow into their life. This is why they often leave environments filled with gossip, pointless arguments, or people who constantly complain. They understand that protecting their energy isn't selfish. It's necessary. The more energy they save, the more they can invest in learning, creating, improving, and achieving meaningful goals. People often misunderstand this behavior. They assume the Sigma is distant or unfriendly because they don't participate in every conversation or social event. In reality, the Sigma simply refuses to waste energy on things that don't improve their life. Their silence isn't empty, it's intentional. Every moment they spend away from unnecessary noise allows them to return with a clearer mind, stronger focus, and greater emotional balance. That's why solitude becomes a form of self-protection rather than isolation. Ask 5. Being alone helps them build an unshakable identity. Perhaps one of the most overlooked reasons Sigma men choose solitude is because it's where they discover who they truly are. Most people spend their lives allowing society to define them. They follow trends because everyone else does. They adopt opinions because they're popular. They choose careers, lifestyles, and even relationships based on what others expect rather than what they genuinely want. A Sigma refuses to live that way. He understands that if you constantly surround yourself with other people's opinions, you'll eventually lose your own voice. That's why solitude becomes so valuable. It gives him the opportunity to step away from outside expectations and ask himself difficult questions. What do I actually believe? What kind of life do I want? What values truly matter to me? These questions cannot be answered in a noisy room full of distractions. They require silence, honesty, and self-reflection. As the Sigma spends more time alone, he begins building an identity that isn't controlled by trends or public opinion. He becomes comfortable saying no when everyone else says yes. He becomes confident making decisions that others don't understand. He stops chasing approval because he already knows exactly who he is. This inner certainty is what makes Sigma men appear so calm and independent. They don't need to copy anyone because they've already built their own foundation. Even when people criticize them or disagree with their choices, they remain steady because their identity wasn't built on other people's opinions in the first place. That's why solitude is far more than simply spending time alone. For a Sigma, it's where character is built, values are strengthened, and confidence becomes unshakable. Asterisk 6. They realize freedom is more valuable than approval. The real reason Sigma men choose solitude isn't because they dislike people. It's because, over time, they discover something that most people never fully understand. Freedom is far more valuable than approval. Many people spend their entire lives trying to be accepted. They change their personality to fit in. They hide their true opinions to avoid criticism. They stay in unhealthy friendships and relationships because they're afraid of being alone. Little by little, they trade their freedom for acceptance without even realizing it. A Sigma chooses a different path. He understands that every time you depend on other people's approval, you give them a certain amount of control over your happiness. Your confidence rises when they praise you and falls when they criticize you. Your decisions become influenced by expectations instead of personal values. A Sigma refuses to live that way. Solitude teaches him that happiness doesn't have to come from applause. Confidence doesn't have to come from compliments. Self-worth doesn't have to come from being accepted by everyone around him. Once he learns this lesson, everything changes. He becomes free to pursue goals that others don't understand. He becomes free to walk away from toxic relationships without guilt. He becomes free to live according to his own principles instead of constantly seeking permission from the world. Ironically, this freedom often attracts more respect than endless people-pleasing ever could. Others notice the quiet confidence, the emotional stability, and the independence that can't be bought with attention or popularity. That's the real reason Sigma men choose solitude. It isn't because they fear people. It's because they have discovered that true freedom begins the moment you stop needing everyone else's approval to live the life you truly want. As you've seen throughout this video, solitude isn't about escaping people. It's about discovering yourself. Sigma men don't choose to be alone because they fear relationships. They choose solitude because it's where they find clarity, build discipline, protect their peace, and develop the confidence to live life on their own terms. The truth is, anyone can enjoy attention when everything is going well, but very few people can sit alone with their own thoughts and come out stronger because of it. That's what separates solitude from loneliness. One drains you, while the other can transform you. Now I'd like to hear from you. Do you think solitude makes a person stronger, or do you believe too much time alone can become a weakness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read as many comments as I can, and I'd love to know your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join the community for more videos about the Sigma mindset, psychology, self-discipline, and personal growth. Thanks for watching, stay strong, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next video.